Thank you so much for joining me. Good to see you again, and here we are. Another IMEX has come around so quickly.
I know.
Anything new in particular for this year that you've brought in? Any new initiatives that we can look out for?
Yeah, well, obviously our talking point this year and also next year is impact. So we've got a lot of new initiatives around impact. Everything really from introducing carbon offsetting scheme for all participants, which is actually available through the IMEX account, to an impact zone in Hall 9, a whole educational track dedicated to impact. And then we've really encouraged the destinations and our exhibitors to think about how to bring impact into their own booths and particularly into their own activations. So we're seeing that right across the show floor, which is exciting. You know, I was just at the Costa Rica booth. They've brought in a foundation that they work with all the way from Costa Rica who do 5-minute beach cleans. So, and they've brought in an art installation of plastic fossils to really show the impact of climate change on the oceans. So, you know, that's just one little example, but we're really seeing that right throughout the show floor.
Because sustainability is obviously a key topic at the moment. So you've obviously integrated a lot of new sustainability measures that you're in place. And I had a chat to Eric, I think, from the US. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's obviously telling me a few things that are going on. So how are you working with them in terms of bringing the sustainability side of things?
Yeah, so we're obviously a signatory to the Net Zero Carbon Initiative. So we're working on how to minimise the carbon and sustainability impacts of putting on IMEX. IMEX has been for a number of years a zero waste show. We use 100% renewable energy here at MESA Frankfurt. We have almost fully eliminated single-use plastic. So the only thing that we use that's plastic in the show are the small floor stickers that you see with the booth stickers. Every other sign, every other vinyl has been eliminated. There's no plastic use at all. And the next stage really is working with the stand constructors on the materials of their booths and the reuse of their booths. We've signed up for the Better Stands initiative as well. So for the first time during the show, we'll be auditing the stands. And we've already started collecting data from the stand constructors so that we can measure the carbon of the stands and also how many times the materials are reused as well. So that's all trying to reduce the impact of the build of this show, at the same time then as looking at carbon offsetting so that we can minimise or at least invest in nature to offset some of that travel impact.
And does that go for the catering side as well? Because obviously they bring in food for various stands. How can you recommend in terms of what they want, or do the stands have their own choice in terms of what kind of food?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So in terms of the IMEX outlets and the MESA Frankfurt outlets, we obviously have a lot of control, and we've worked with the chefs to minimise water usage, carbon usage, more local ingredients, and also what we call a plant-forward menu. So just small things like the vegan and vegetarian options being at the top of the menu makes a difference to choices. In terms of the exhibitors, we encourage them to do that, but we can't mandate it. But that is something that over time we hope that we can put in place, make it easier for them to make the sustainable choice. So, and a great example of that is renewable energy. In the first few years of having the choice of renewable energy, we bought it for us, our own usage, and we recommended it to the exhibitors. It came down in price to the degree that we were able to just take away the option of anything other than renewable energy. So it makes that choice much easier. So over time, things like that with food, we can help those sustainable options become more prevalent.
And you're doing that for the gala dinner tomorrow night. The earlier communication was all about trying to recommend everybody to choose a vegetarian option.
Exactly. So that was interesting because what we did last year was when people sign up for the gala dinner, we asked them to what option they wanted, and we put the vegetarian option first. And just doing that led to about a third of participants choosing the vegetarian option. This year we have also given the carbon footprint of the vegetarian and the meat option. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that also increases the number of people choosing it. So we're trying a few sort of behavioural science nudge techniques to try to shift behaviours as well.
So how can other exhibitions, not just other industry trade shows, how can other exhibitions globally learn from IMEX? I mean, how do you think you lead the way in terms of looking at all those things from sustainability and impact in terms of event?
Yeah, well, one of the things we do, and that's one of the things we do with Meet Green, is we do produce a report after each show to highlight the things that we did and the impact that that made, and we make all of that completely transparent. And we do that in the hope that other organisers, whether they're event planners here on the show floor, trade show organisers, will take that and they'll see that it's hundreds of small steps and initiatives that we take, and it's just being very intentional about those things. You know, many years ago when we started this, you couldn't even get carpet that was made from recycled materials and that could be reused. Now you can. So there are lots of choices that can be made that are more sustainable, and that's all publicly available on our website for anybody to use.
What do you see the future of events? Where do you see it going from here?
You know, the future of events, I think, is very healthy, because we know that in order for change to happen in the world, whether that's medical research, whether it's solving issues like climate change, or whether it's just better business outcomes, we know that bringing people face to face is essential catalyst to really making those things happen. So meetings and events I don't see going away, but we are facing more questions, and we will face more questions, especially around climate change and sustainability, because you can't currently bring people together face to face from all over the world without having a carbon impact. And so I think that's why we need to be responsible about how we bring people together, the intentionality of that, making sure that the events themselves really do have the outcomes that they're intended for, and making sure that those positive benefits outweigh any negative sustainable impacts. And I think that's really critical for the industry. That's a business imperative for us. Events aren't going to go away, but they might be questioned differently.
Yeah. So I mean, whereas the likes of IMEX Frankfurt, the connectivity within Europe is very good, trains, etc. A lot of buyers are within a shorter haul. So obviously a very different challenge when it comes to the US market in terms of sustainability measures, that type of thing. So how do you look at that IMEX America differently in terms of sustainability?
Well, both of the destinations and the suppliers are very different. What's very interesting somewhere like IMEX America, the way that the booths are built, for example, they produce a far less waste than here in Frankfurt. I think it's about 40-50% less waste on the show floor. Now here in Frankfurt, we're very lucky to be able to utilize the facilities of Frankfurt in collecting that waste, in that waste being either put back into the supply chain or converted into energy that's used within the city. So even though there's more waste, it's disposed of in a very efficient manner. But it's better to have less waste at the end of the day. So I think there are pros and cons to being in the different destinations. From a travel perspective, we still have a big global footprint in terms of people coming from all over the world to Frankfurt. And you're right, that's even more at IMEX America, because it's much harder, even if you're in a neighboring state, to get a train in. So that's why I think we've started working with Cloverly. Cloverly offer us a portfolio of projects, from a biocar project, which is about capturing carbon and storing it for up to 1,000 years, so taking carbon out of the atmosphere, through to a reforestation program, and then an avoidance program, so avoiding cutting down trees. And through that portfolio, we're able to offer people the opportunity to offset their travel to the show, but in a very intentional way, where they know that they're investing in the right projects, and projects that are being chosen very carefully and audited very carefully. And so we hope over time people will get used to doing that, and that is a way, until travel and fuel is sustainable, that's a way for us as an industry to invest in the right nature projects to offset some of that.
This is where the rest of the industry can take notice and learn from. There's a lot of educating involved still to go.
Exactly, a lot of education, and I think it's important, we've spent a long time choosing some of those projects to make sure that they're best in class and that we can really be confident in the outcomes and the impact that they will have.
And just going back to IMEX today's show, anything in particular you are most proud of leading up to the event that's different from previous years?
Well, I think, this is our third show post-pandemic. I don't think anyone wants to talk about that anymore. But it is interesting to see how each year post-pandemic, more and more of the world has opened up, but also come back. And we see that here. It's the largest ever African section that we've had. It's the largest ever US section. It's the largest ever Asian section that we've had in the show. And so I think that's really important for just showing how the world is maturing in terms of our marketplace. And how invested these destinations and some of the emerging destinations are in terms of attracting business, and and what's going on in those destinations as well in terms of new convention centres, new CVBs that are opening up, or they're opening up to incentive travel. So I'm really that's something that as a team, it's great to see that. And then the other thing I would say is just the intentional design that the team put into the shows. In Hall 9 you see that with the activations we have, over 200 educational programs. And the education, it covers everything from AI to the menopause. So we've really got this program that is covering what you need in your business life and what you might need in your personal life. And some of the programs are niche, and we might get 6 people coming, but we've made that decision that that's fine if that's right for that person, and we want people to go away with new knowledge or feeling better in themselves, So our team for a number of years have been really focused on instilling joy in people, so that's like a core value for us, and it's really sort of coming to fruition now. And we really, that gives a lot of enjoyment to our team as well.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a good buzz on the floor, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going well, so that's great to hear. But thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time and saying hi and catching up and giving us a bit of an overview. So thanks as always. I know you're very busy. So
yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.